Subaru has the ability of Return by Death, which upon death brings him back to a checkpoint set by the Witch of Envy, Satella. Though this makes Subaru incredibly powerful, able to repeat his actions an innumerable amount of times, the cost is heavy. Subaru suffers every moment of each death, the sensations, the nauseating pain, and poof, he's back. Brought moments, hours, maybe days before whatever killed him. But he's never brought back whole. He remembers every event, every detail, every excruciating moment. There's one final detail about Return by Death, a cruel joke if you will. Subaru can't confide in anyone about his power. At least, not just anyone. But we'll get into that a bit later. I'm going to focus predominantly on Arc 2, The Turbulent Week. During Arc 2, Subaru stays at the Roswell Manor. He decides to work as a butler, doing chores, failing miserably, and being berated by the twins. On the 5th morning working, Subaru realized he had been killed in his sleep and sent back. This realization that someone either distrusts him or is out to kill him makes him a little paranoid, but he still closely follows his actions of the previous loop, still being reprimanded and making mistakes. Subaru dies 2 more times. Subaru wakes up screaming. This time he decides to be a guest instead of a butler, gathering info, trying to learn anything he can. He does learn that Ram is the killer. She hacks, slashes, torturing and healing him over and over. Subaru wakes up. This time, the twins hold him down until Amelia can arrive and heal him. Subaru attempts to confide in her about Return by Death, but feels time stop, and a black mist threaten to crush his heart. This loop continues on with him forming a pact with Beatrice and then killing himself to save Rem. Once again, Subaru wakes up. Subaru's mental state at this point is fragile at best. He asks to work as a butler again, this time pushing himself so hard. He's trying to seem like he's okay, that he's normal, and for a little while it works. Until Puck informs Amelia that Subaru would quote-unquote get worn out in the near future at the rate he was going at. As Subaru works, the only phrase being repeated in his mind, "I feel sick, I feel sick, I feel sick." Watching this scene for the first time, I shed a little tear. But that's just because I get invested in media. A few years later, after my diagnosis, something compelled me to rewatch Rezero. I felt a sense of foreboding knowing this scene was coming up, knowing that something I vaguely remembered would so accurately describe my current being. I was terrified. Watching him die and come back, suffering alone without anyone that truly understood him, shot memories of hospital visit after hospital visit, wondering if this would be the day they could make the pain stop. This time, I was crying for a different reason. Watching Subaru wake up time after time, loop after loop, hoping that this death was just a bad dream and that he was really okay, and it was all some nightmare. That felt way too familiar. It was like the show was staring back at me, and I hated it. The scene that was just as, if not tougher for me to watch, was the witch's tea party. Echidna egging him on to tell her about Return by Death. His hesitation and fear of the consequences, of knowing, of fearing how she would react, resonated with me. He tells her Return by Death, and her response was so meaningful, so validating. 3 words: I heard you. Subaru repeats himself several more times, overcome with relief that someone, even if it is the Witch of Greed, can hear him. The relief washing over him brought him to his knees. If you're chronically ill, I'm sure you understand that having someone to understand you, to know what you're going through, makes every day just a little bit easier. I'm not sure if Taipei Natsuki intentionally drew parallels between Subaru and chronic illness. I'm not even sure if this video makes sense to anyone that isn't ill. What I do know is this story has hit me in the feels more times than I can count, and it hurts a whole lot more when it's personal.